pick the right pricing strategy for your clothing brand? If you don't pick the right pricing strategy, you could be leaving profit and dollars on the table every time you sell a product. In this video, I'll share the top 10 best pricing strategies that are right for most clothing and accessory businesses. And I bet one of them is perfect for your brand. As a fashion merchandiser, pricing strategy is one of the most important things you can establish in your business next to a product strategy. In this video, I'll go through the top 10 pricing approaches that you should be thinking about for your business. I'm Trudi Roach, and I'm a fashion merchandiser and brand coach, and I help you grow your clothing and accessories business with product positioning, content, and sales strategies so you never have to worry about where your next sale is coming from. What's the easiest way to establish pricing for your business? Well, if you're tracking your costs and your materials and your shipping, you're halfway there. Think about using cost plus pricing for your brand. It's the easiest way to set your pricing. Cost plus pricing is also known as markup pricing. You take the basic cost of your product, you add a fixed markup percentage to that, and you sell your product for the final price. So let's say you're starting out with a dress for your online business and you want to calculate the price. Here's how we're going to do that. First, you take the cost of making the dress. So your materials might be $10. Your labor costs $20 and shipping costs $5. Add to that your marketing and your overhead, and perhaps that's another $10. So your total cost for creating that dress is $45. Then you could add a markup of, say, 35% to that cost of $45, and here's what that calculation looks like. Your cost, $45, multiplied by the markup times 1.35 equals your selling price of $60.75. I'll leave that formula in the description box below so you can take a note of that. The benefits of using cost plus or markup pricing is that it's very easy to calculate, and you can do this consistently over time. So as long as you know your costs and your shipping, you can always apply the same or similar markup percentage to any goods that you sell, so any product in your assortment. The only downside to cost plus pricing is it doesn't take into consideration what the market is doing or your competition. So for that, you should think about using competitive pricing. For fashion brands that have similar products or trade in similar niches out there in the business world, often price can be an important differentiator for your brand. But it's not always easy for small businesses to compete on price. Lower prices mean lower profit margins, and that can really erode your overall income and your bottom line over time. Depending on products that compete on price alone, will also train your customers to look for the lowest price. And that might not always be your brand. Competitive pricing refers to a pricing strategy where your brand will look at other benchmarks out in the industry and set your prices accordingly, so somewhere along the lines of your competitors out there in the market. This strategy is really effective if you can get your price on your goods, so your costs down really low. But again, not always easy for a clothing brand or a small business. A perfect example of competitive pricing is Walmart. So Walmart trades almost exclusively on price and the competitive advantage that they have by buying in large quantities. So again, you can see how a small business and also a fashion and potentially luxury or prestige business can't work this way. Sometimes customers want products that they feel enhance their self-image, and they're willing to pay for them. So the value of the product is really their perception. Value-based pricing or price-to-value pricing means that a customer is willing to pay the price that they perceive that product is worth. So this works really well for certain brands. With this approach, it's your target audience and their willingness to pay a specific amount for your product that sets your prices. Value-based pricing is really common in the luxury sector, which mostly trades on this factor alone. For brands like Prada, Rolls-Royce, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton, just to name a few, they're really trading at this value-based, highly perceived value tier for all of their customers. One of the benefits is because there's a larger income per product, a value-based brand can also create a lot of innovation and newness because they have the capital to do it within their product mix. The downside to this strategy, if you're a smaller business, is that you really need to have a lot of valuable or perceived value in your brand equity itself. So to be perceived as a luxury or high-tier brand, to command the kind of prices that come along with this strategy. An interesting example of this is the new Phoebe Philo launch that just happened a month ago. Those prices are in the stratosphere. Even the fashion industry is kind of reeling from the price tickets, really along the lines of the Roach, which is another highly prestigious value-based brand, a lot of high prestige perception around those products, as well as the materials and the design that goes hand in hand. But the Phoebe Philo collection is a perfect example of having that brand equity. In this case, the designer herself going from Celine, where she built the equity, now to launching her own business and taking all that equity with her into the new venture, is allowing her to command those prices. So again, value-based pricing is tricky to pull off unless you're building a value-based proposition within your brand DNA. Okay, it's no secret that customers love a discount and a bargain. You probably do too. There's a survey from Tildo that says 28% of customers are browsing for coupons and discounts before they even start shopping, and up to 80% browse online for deals before going into stores in real life. That's a major statistic that really tells us how much a discount or a bargain matters to the customer. There are lots of benefits to having discount pricing for your business. One is that it drives a lot of traffic. The other is that it can really create a lot of demand for repeat purchases and for customers to buy more when they get to your website. But there are also some downsides. If you use discount pricing too often, it trains your customer to look for a bargain every day and to resist buying anything from you at full price. And there are global national brands that have this problem, and it's very hard to reverse once you have created it. For example, Macy's, as a department store, has trained its Macy's customer to really look for those big sale days, and most of the product is discounted. Once you get past the cosmetics and handbag floor, most of the product is discounted, probably 80% or more of the time in a Macy's store and online. If you don't believe me, just check it out and watch what they're doing with their sales and discounts. Often sales and discounts can be masked in a couple of different ways. It could be 20% off, it could be buy one, get one. It's a little bit sneaky, and you won't always see it as a discount or a price slash or percentage off. But those discounts are now baked in, particularly in the US market. So this is something you want to watch for. Think of using discounts on a seasonal basis or just as basically pop-ups if you're a small brand. If you want a simple, tried and true, everyday way to set your prices consistently so that you always know that you have ample markup and margin baked in, then you want to think about Keystone pricing. This is the simple, tried and true way to do it every day in your business across all your categories. For Keystone pricing, you create your retail price by simply doubling your wholesale cost, or the cost that it took you to create your garment. The simplest way to think about Keystone pricing is your wholesale price times 2 equals your retail price. For example, if a product costs you $15 from the manufacturer, your retail price would be $30. So $15 times 2 equals $30 retail price. The only downside to this is if your wholesale cost fluctuates and you're not able to change your retail price, which you shouldn't be changing that every day because the customer doesn't particularly like that, you can really lose margin, profit margin on your pricing over time. So this is something you want to be very careful about, and think about using this pricing method on some of your key basics, and perhaps you build in a little extra margin in there to account for fluctuations, because you don't want to be changing your Keystone pricing often. If you want to set standardized costs for your consumers so that they know they won't be able to find the product for less, then you probably want to think about using manufacturer's suggested retail, or MSRP. You've obviously probably seen this out there, and it usually is referred to as the ticket price, right? The MSRP. Manufacturers started to do this so that they could really standardize some pricing across the industry, across certain sectors of the industry. But it doesn't always work in your favor. MSRPs are often the highest ticket price that you would expect to find that item at retail. So the price without any markdowns applied. The negative here is that it's sometimes hard to compete on price if you need to, because you've already set a benchmark, and everything you do with your price then, if you want to make any adjustments, it really needs to look like a discounted price, which you might not want to do. MSRPs are mostly used for brands and businesses that really are large within the marketplace and can sort of drive prices within certain sectors. So you often see this with grocery, drugstore products and their competitive brands. You often see it with commodity type products, t-shirts, socks, etc., where the MSRP really sets the standard for the consumer, so they can price shop across brands and categories, but they might not necessarily be looking to make a fashion purchase based on MSRP alone. If you're looking for a pricing strategy that can create higher perceived value with lower cost and the possibility to drive more purchases over time, then think about multiple pricing, or price bundling, as it's often called. It's common for beauty companies, drugstores, and apparel brands to use multiple pricing across specific categories, like socks, underwear, tights, for example. Multiple pricing is a great way to think about driving additional sales. So businesses often do this where they might sell two products together for a certain price, but they're able to sell the products individually both for a higher price. For example, a shampoo and conditioner together as a multiple priced item might be $10. Those products individually might be $7 and $8. So by getting the multiple or bundled price or product, the customer is saving money. So they're much more likely to buy two rather than walk away with one $7 shampoo. Make sense? The downside is if you don't have a lot of volume, then you can lose money on price bundling because you're really selling that second product at a discount and you're not covering that with the volume of sales. Let me know in the comments if you've ever used multiple pricing or price bundling in your business, and which products did you bundle together? Is there a pricing strategy that encourages customers to buy multiple items in a single transaction to boost overall sales per customer and to cover the loss of marking down the products initially? We call that in the industry a loss leader. Loss leaders can also be a great way of promoting underperforming products within your product mix. Loss leader pricing is when a customer is lured into your business, your website, with a really advantageous, reduced price that they almost can't resist, and it starts to drive more traffic to your site, and also customers get kind of excited because they've got this great deal, and psychologically, the perception is they have more money to spend, or they have the remaining money that they just saved, potentially to spend exactly where they are and fill up their shopping cart. Loss leaders are a great way to generate revenue, not just on the discounted product, but across your entire business. So think of a loss leader this way. You might have a simple item in your assortment, like a t-shirt, for example. You mark the t-shirt down, it creates a lot of buzz, you can promote it on social media, in your advertising, your marketing, on your email list, and it brings traffic to your site. You might be marking that product down and making just a tiny profit margin on it, but there are products that you can show to your customer that are related to that are an easy purchase or an add-on. Something like, if they're buying socks, they might also buy a t-shirt, they might buy socks. They might also buy a cardigan that goes with the t-shirt or a scarf. So you offer those products related. You can present them lots of different ways, and you're making more sales around that loss leader, and it covers the markdown. The only downside with using loss leaders, but it's a big one, is using it too much. You're going to really erode your profit across your entire business. So use this in a very selective way. Choose your moments and make sure that you cover the loss leader with some other products that are going to make up that profit margin over time for your business. If you want to know the pricing method that is really tough to resist, can trigger impulse purchases, and let the customer feel they're getting an amazing deal, then think about psychological pricing. Psychological pricing, or charm pricing, influences a customer's perception of their desire to buy and that they're getting an amazing deal. Pricing ending in odd numbers, uneven numbers, can really have a psychological effect on the consumer and make them think they're getting an amazing deal, and this can be really hard for consumers to resist. The strategy to accomplish this is usually by using 99, so 0.99 cents on the end of a price tag, or occasionally 0.97 on the end. So to the consumer, something that's marked at $7.99, the perception is that it's a lot less expensive than something that's marked at a straight $8 price ticket. If you don't believe me, go to some discount retailers and look at their pricing, and then go to any mid-tier store and look at the pricing that ends in 0. So you're not going to find, for example, a brand like Tory Burch having a price that's marked at $49.99. That's a discount price. That's a psychologically priced item. Looks and feels a lot different than a $50 piece. The only downside to this is, again, you can really train your customers to be looking and on the alert and emotionally invested in finding these triggering price points in your business. So you're going to need to make a decision early on in your brand journey of where you go with your pricing so that you avoid some of these traps. So that's why looking at all the major pricing strategies that clothing and accessory brands should be using is one of the key reasons I'm making the video. Okay, this pricing strategy, and it's my favorite, has the ability to give the perception of higher quality, higher value, and set the tone for your entire business. It also is the pricing strategy that can lead to higher profit margins as well as revenue from your sales. With premium pricing, brands identify their price tiers with their competition and then establish their own prices accordingly. This gives the impression of exclusivity, luxury, and a premium brand. Premium pricing works for a brand like Tory Burch when their customers pick Tory Burch products over a lower price competitor in the better traditional, slightly preppy space over someone like a Kate Spade. Alternatively, a brand like Prada might not benefit if they're using their premium pricing strategy in certain markets where the customer doesn't have the spending power and they're not going to make as many sales if they are trading at the premium level. Premium pricing can be challenging to implement if you're not sure about your target customer and what their desires and preferences are. If you want to learn more about how to identify your perfect customer, your ideal customer DNA, I'll leave a link to my Find Your Brand Fans workbook, and you can grab that. I'll leave a link here and in the description below. Premium pricing goes hand in hand with having strong differentiators for your business. So a brand like Prada trades on their high quality, their brand DNA, their design ethos, and their style, fabric, and innovation within the business. Those are all key points that allow them to command a premium price. So premium brands don't really just make this up. They really build this over time. They also don't do some of the other pricing strategies that we talked about, discounting, bundling, etc. Those aren't the strategies for a premium pricing or a premium brand. So pick the pricing strategy that matches your business. A brand like Prada is typically rarely on sale, and if they are on sale, they've planned very specifically and strategically for those products to show up in certain places, certain stores, on sale at very limited times throughout the year. So most of their customer base is going to buy full price most of the time, and then they do have a sector that they know and they welcome into the brand that are buying on sale at a discount, but you're still going to be paying probably a hefty price ticket, but just not as high or premium a price. So again, using those pricing strategies very strategically. So how do you find the right pricing strategy for your business? This is not a black and white conversation. Obviously, it's going to mean looking at where you're currently pricing your products, taking a look at the market around you, figuring out where you want to trade, and deciding where you want your pricing to sit over time. It doesn't mean you have to make any major shifts, but it's good to know what the 10 best clothing and accessory pricing strategies are so that you can apply the right one to your business. There are more strategies, but for my approach, these are the top 10 that I've used in the fashion industry and I think are applicable to most small businesses, at least when you're starting out. So look at how you can mix and match some of these strategies and which ones to avoid as you grow your business over time. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.